Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to The Longest Journey. Well, time for a new phase of our journey, as we head out of the big city for the first time in either dimension. That's enough pumping it up. Might as well just do so.
It's a small barn. It's a farmhouse. It's some kind of cattle, but not the kind of cattle they breed in Kansas. Those monuments, they're enormous, like man-made mountains. I wonder what they are. What they were made for.
They appear to be statues, and they appear to be pointing the way towards something. Oh, hey, Crow, you got out. Alright, well, we've got a new map. 3 locations, but we've already been to 2 of them, so might as well keep going.
It's a discarded wagon wheel.
That's about all there is, too. Oh. And now there's this.
Do you always travel like you got a 2-headed Besparian nymphate on your tail? I couldn't keep up half the time.
Crow, is that you?
Of course, there was that pair of stunning robin redbreasts. Twins, did you know? Not as if I could just leave them without a kiss or 2. Or 12, as it turned out. Maybe I'm just out of shape after being stuck in boxes and cages and knapsacks for the past 20 years.
I guess it is you.
Of course it's me! How many birds do you know with both good looks and a sense of humor?
You got a sense of humor.
No, funny. Nah, that's funny.
What are you doing here, Crow?
What am I doing here? What am I doing here? How about a nice to see you, Crow, or I've missed you so much, Crow, or at least a glad to see you out of that chest, Crow?
It is nice to see you, Crow. How did you escape?
Cunning, milady. Of course, that keg of Androgen stone liquor the old geezer got his hands on didn't hurt. I've never seen such a shameful display of public drunkenness in my life. Well, not since the last time I had a thimble full of wine. Yeah, boy, were those ladies in for a surprise. When they were told I could talk, I'm sure they didn't count on my encyclopedic knowledge of Dolmari obscenities. The old man was gonna gamble me away again, you know. Went straight back to the cups handler after the, celebration. So, I decided to split before they put me back in the cage. That place was like a prison without the amenities. And let's not even mention the food. Did you ever try roasted elguan dung? Ugh, pooey, duh, don't, ever. So, I pecked a button here and some soft tissue there and fled. I had nowhere else to fly, so I decided to join you on your, quest. It sounded like a spot of good old-fashioned fun. Like a bird's own adventure. It's not as if I came after you because I like you, though. You don't have any feathers.
Thank God for that. Okay, if you want to join me, I wouldn't mind some company. I'm guessing you'll be using your wings, though, and not your feet?
The ground's no place for a free spirit like myself, baby. Besides, I hear there are a lot of good-looking birds in this forest, and let me tell you, they don't parade about on the ground like winged chickens. Just try to slow down once in a while. Let me catch up.
Sure. But how do I get your attention if I need to talk to you?
Can you whistle? Like this?
Sorry. But wait a second. I got a little flute. I could use it to call you.
I'm not a sheepdog. Let's get that straight. You play your tune, and I'll consider your request. I won't be flapping to attention like a tame soldier hawk.
Deal. We better get moving, though. It's getting late.
Aye, aye, Captain. I'll try to keep an eye out ahead in case there's trouble.
Well, there we go. We now have a sidekick. And a new entry in the diary. Seems like she likes him.
I guess he's not around. I should try again later.
Yep, sure enough, the flute does not always work when you want to call him in. Okay, so what else do we have here? Looks like something's happened to this bridge.
Oh dear. Oh dear me. Please, human, don't kill me and skin me. I haven't even sung to the soil yet.
Yeah, I don't think you can take a joke about that kind of thing.
Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you or skin you.
Oh my. That is good news. Very good indeed. Who are you?
My name's April. What's yours?
In my language, it's Bandu Umana Banta Au Rubana Bitana Benort. It means the little one who tries hard to live up to his father who sings to the soil.
That's a mouthful. So, what do I call you?
You can call me Ben Bandu, the sad little one. Banda is the name of my people. We are the little ones.
Aren't your people called the Mole People?
That's what the city dwellers and farmers call us. They say it with sharp tongue. Moles. Dirt diggers. They don't like us very much. Our given name is Banda, the little ones. Or the Banda Banta, the little ones who sing to the soil.
How do you sing to the soil?
When we're old enough, and we found our voices, we just sing, and the earth shapes itself to our needs. We live in harmony with the earth, just like the birds do with the air.
Why are you sad, Ben Bandu?
I'm looking for my brother. He's been gone in the forest for many days, and I've not heard him sing to us. Our people don't walk about the forest much. It's too dangerous for us. You haven't seen my brother, have you? He's short, about my height, with a tan coat and a mischievous glint in his eye.
You're the first mole. The first Banda I've met.
Oh dear. I hope he's all right. A lot of our people have disappeared this summer.
What happened to the Banda that disappeared?
We don't really know. But there's something evil in this forest. Something that doesn't like the Banda. I shouldn't be out here looking, but I must find my brother.
If I see him, I'll let him know you're looking for him.
Oh, thank you. Thank you ever so much.
Good luck on your search, Ben Bandu. Sad little one.
And the best of luck to you, April. Please, if you see my brother, tell him to come home. We're all so very worried.
Getting a very Winnie the Pooh vibe from this guy. Oh, she just did that automatically. And yes, that cinematic plays every single time he comes in or goes out.
Hey, Crow, would you mind doing me a favor?
I was having this tete-a-tete with a pretty young sparrow, but hey, Crow at your service. Did you say favor? Oh, sure thing, unless it's something extremely... No, make that even remotely dangerous. I don't like dangerous.
Not at all. Just scout out the forest from your vantage point. See if you can find Ben Bandu's brother.
Ben who?
The mole I just met. I thought you were supposed to be watching me. Didn't you pay attention?
No. Mole, you said. They're savages, the lot of them. You eat birds, even.
crow. I eat birds. You probably do too.
Yeah, I love a roasted duckling and a tangy orange. Oh, well, yeah, I see your point. Looking for a lost mole, then, are we?
Yeah, and they're called the Banda.
I never got into that whole PC thing. It's not Tyrox, it's the tyrant. Don't say chicks, say birds. Don't say birds, say women. I don't know, it's all a little too complicated for a simple man of the air like myself.
Just go look for the lost Bandu, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
At least by trying, you show that you respect them.
The bridge is out! Damn! The bridge has been completely destroyed. The edges are charred. Whatever caused this, it couldn't have been floodwater or simple wear and tear. I'll have to find some other way across. This gorge is too deep to cross and the river too fierce.
Might have been the alchemist, keeping people away from him. I suppose you could cross using the ropes, like hand over hand, but April really isn't that athletic. So nothing really to do but head back to the previous screen. And oh, there's something new here.
It's a woman, I guess. An old woman, and it looks like she's in pain.
Oh, please, pretty lady, pretty, please help me. I've fallen and I can't stand up.
What happened to you?
Oh, I was out picking bones. Berries for my stew, and flowers. Yes, pretty flowers. Then I tripped over a big old root and twisted my ankle. It hurts so. Please help me home, pretty lady, please.
So you know this is a trap, right?
Where do you live?
I live not far from here, not far at all. No, help me home and I'll cook you a fine stew, I promise. Yes, I promise. Just help me home and I'll reward you for your compassion. Yes, you'll have your reward.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm nobody at all. Just a frail old woman picking bones. Picking berries for her stew so she can feed her prisoner. Guests! Feed her guests and fatten them up for the long winter.
Why do you keep swallowing your words?
Because I'm just a frail old forgetful woman, yes.
But yeah, you do have to help her to continue the story.
All right, I'll help you home.
Oh, yes. Thanks, plump little treasure. A nice, pretty girl, thanks.
You even have to pick her up. Crying out loud. Alright, yeah, I just almost forgot about the Bandu entry. And we gotta talk to her again.
I still need your help, Plumpwood. Pretty girl. I can't walk all the way home by myself, you see. Help me home and I'll cook you a good, thick, creamy stew. Yum, I'm getting hungry myself. Let's go.
Lead the way, ma'am.
Yes, let's go. Come on, just follow me, my sweet treat.
Least suspicious old lady in the world right there.
The old woman seems capable of walking on her own. Strange enough. Maybe she just needed some encouragement.
Old lady with a skull-like face. Anything to look at around here?
They don't look like the edible sort. In fact, these mushrooms look cancerous. And ugly. They look cancerous, and I'd rather not touch them. They look cancerous, and I'd rather not touch them.
Alright, nothing else to do.
Come in, honored guest. I'll just check on my stuffing. My stew, yes. My thick, delicious stew.
You do that.
Oh dear, what have we here? This stew isn't good enough to stuff. To serve a guest as plump, as well-built and delicious, as honored as you, my dear. Why don't you just wait here, and I will go pick some more berries and spices for my stuff. My stew.
But wait, what about your bad back?
It's like a fairy tale, but less subtle.
What a strange woman.
Alright, well, she left us alone here for some reason, so let's check it out.
There's something not quite right about this place. Like those skulls, for one. They look disturbingly humanoid.
Is that your first clue?
What's that sound? Where's it coming from? Grotesque decor. What are those things? They look like... Is that blood? What does this creature do to people? I'd rather not examine them too closely. It's a window, but it's too small for me to squeeze through. I can't climb up there. Besides, I'm too big to fit through that tiny window. It's a wooden table with a tablecloth made of some kind of animal skin. Something's cooking, all right. I just can't put my finger on what exactly. That's a large fireplace and a fierce fire.
Alright.
Looks like a solid piece of furniture. It's got a chain tied around it. There's that strange... That pillar looks a little shaky.
Might as well try to leave.
The door's locked from the outside. Wait a second. The door's locked? Oh my god, the door is locked! I'm trapped!
Glad to see you're finally on the same page, April.
It's locked solid. What was that? It sounds like somebody's trapped inside the cabinet. It's too big for me to carry around, but maybe I could use it somewhere in this room.
Well, maybe we could wedge it with the cabinet, and it's not what I was thinking of, but that works.
Who are you? Are you going to eat me?
I'm April, and I've come to rescue you.
Oh my, did my tribe send you?
So to speak, I met your brother, Ben Bandhu.
Ben Bandhu? Bandhu umanu banta orobana biutan binoart?
I think so. He said to call him Ben Bandhu.
Because he was sad for me? He will be so glad to find that you've rescued me then.
Yeah. There could be a tiny little problem with that.
The Gribbler captured you too?
I guess whatever the Gribbler is, did capture me. That took me by surprise since I did come here willingly.
That's how she works, the Gribbler. She tricks Banda and humans to come here to her house, and then she cooks them and eats them.
Friendly old lady, she's not. What's your name?
Bandhu utamatuta uyatan ayama binaort.
That's a little difficult for me to remember. How about I call you Bandhu Uta?
Oh my, yes, that would be fine. We have long names, us Banda. as long as our tunnels.
You can tell me more about your people later. Right now we need to find a way out of here.
The other voice actor is a lot better at making the Banda name sound natural. Yeah, go figure. Gribbler is evil. Well, looks like I can use him with the window here.
Come over here. Let's try something.
Oh dear me. What are you going to do?
I'm gonna get you out of here. Hold on. Can you break the window and get through?
Oh dear, I'm so sorry, but it doesn't seem like I can do that. The window is too thick for me to break.
Maybe there's something I have that can break it. Nothing in my inventory sticks out, but
I'd rather not examine them too closely.
maybe something in the room?
It's kind of shaky, and I don't want to risk bringing the roof down on top of me.
Oh, that could work.
It's a small humanoid skull, like that of a child. Good God!
But yeah, there might be a way of getting into the Gribblers without making April look like a complete idiot, but if so, I'm not entirely aware of it. In any case, on we go.
Come over here.
Oh dear. What are you going to...
I'm gonna...
Mind the shattered glass.
Hey, wait a second. I need you to open the door for me. Don't run off. Damn. What the hell am I gonna do now?
I am back with the berries and... What's happened here? Why is the... What have you done, you stupid little human?
I just saved an innocent person from being your dinner, Gribbler, so there.
So, you think you could come into my house and set my dinner free and get away with it?
Well, I will get away with it because soon a lot of people, armed people, will come to get me and to kill you. So you'd better run away while you still have a chance.
I guess you will be my dinner tonight then, and I had hoped to save you for tomorrow.
Oh, come on, Gribbler. You can't honestly think you can eat... Step aside. I know karate. Beat it. Get out of here. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Kinda shaky.
Seems like the pillar's the key here, but... Oh,
Large fireplace.
looks like I can do something with this floorboard. That'll work.
Something's cooking.
I think you can put your finger on it at this point, April.
Hi, Ben.
Oh dear, where's the monster?
She vanished like smoke up a chimney. Do you know what happened to your brother? He just ran off, didn't even stop to say goodbye.
I met him back on the road. He was running like the wind. Said that when you helped him out of the window, he spotted the Gribbler returning, so he went to get help. I told him to alert the village, gather as many of the Banda as possible, and come back here, and that I'd try my best to aid you in the meanwhile.
Thank you, that was very brave of you.
Brave of me? Oh my. You defeated the Gribbler. You are a hero. I owe the life of my brother to you, the life of everyone in our tribe. I know my fellow Banda will want to reward you for your gracious deeds. You are invited to our village with me, and I will tell my people to prepare a grand feast for you.
You don't have to do that, Ben. I just did what anybody would have done.
But you did it. Give me your map, and I will show you where our village is. Then I must run ahead to tell the Banda that the Gribbler is no more.
Today, I'll be looking at a book that straddles the line between magical realism and fantasy, so let me slap on both names for this one. The movie's title is Neverwhere, a popular book by Neil Gaiman that came recommended by patron NCJ. I told you guys we'd have time to cover the author. About the author. Neil Gaiman was born in 1960, the son of a Jewish family who lived in the south of England. His parents became Scientologists after his birth, but Neil himself would grow up to be agnostic. As a child, Gaiman was an avid reader, consuming classic fantasy works, Batman comics, and even his assigned school books. Gaiman knew he wanted to be an author straight out of high school, and so in the early 80s he became a literary journalist, in the hopes that he'd make the connections he'd need to get himself published. It apparently worked, because while he quit journalism in 1987 after becoming disgusted by lax standards, he would also write a few non-fiction books, and write for independent comic books thanks to his friendship with Alan Moore. Soon after he quit journalism, DC Comics hired Neil Gaiman to write the limited series Black Orchid. That got him the attention of DC's new head of the mature Vertigo division, Karen Berger, and she asked him to reimagine the old DC superhero Sandman. And that's exactly what Gaiman did. He replaced the superhero with a godlike entity better known as Dream, and the series would end up having much less to do with heroism and much more to do with mythology and famous literary figures. The Sandman would run for 7 years, from 1989 to 1996. That wouldn't be Gaiman's only output, however. He also wrote for several other DC comic lines, and in 1990 he collaborated with the perhaps more famous Terry Pratchett on a book called Good Omens, about a demon and an angel teaming up to stop the apocalypse because they're rather fond of the current state of existence. In 1996, he was the screenwriter for Neverwhere, but buckle in, because the story about this story has a few layers to it. Neil Gaiman co-created Neverwhere along with Sir Lensworth Harry, although he wouldn't be knighted for another 20 years or so. BBC Two picked up the story and turned it into a 6-episode miniseries, and Gaiman did most of the script writing shortly before or during the production. Simultaneously, he wrote a novel version, and incidentally, this was the first proper novel he ever wrote as a solo author. Also, the novel takes full advantage of its unlimited effects and set design budgets, and includes every scene and every action that had to be cut from the miniseries. Thanks to the simultaneous writing, Neverwhere the novel came out the same year as the miniseries, 1996. The book would turn out to be a bigger hit than the TV series, in part because the novel would get a wide release to an international market, while the series didn't. Plus, it had some production issues that aren't very relevant here. What is relevant is that Gaiman's international publisher asked him for a new version for the second release, because the original copy assumes that the reader already knows London's layout. So Gaiman rewrote the book, and while he was at it, he decided to expand and deepen the story. Then, in 2006, Gaiman created a third version that combined both previous editions, along with a few more scenes. This is the definitive edition, at least according to the author, and it's the version that I'm reviewing today. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at the story. The book begins by introducing a bunch of things all at once. Richard Mayhew is from Scotland, but 3 years ago he moved to London to work at a securities firm. A nameless young woman has been running for 4 days. A couple of supernaturally powerful thugs named Mr. Krupp and Mr. Vandemar are on a trail, and they hired a guy named Ross to take the lead. The narrative then settles on Richard's point of view, describing how he got used to living in London and even got himself a fiancée, Jessica. Jessica is a woman with big ambitions, and while she's been controlling Richard's life, Richard is laid back enough that he doesn't really mind. Meanwhile, Krupp and Vandemar catch up to the nameless woman, but she uses her strange power to open doors to open Ross's chest and kill him. She then gets wounded, but she then uses her power one last time to escape. Richard and the woman's stories intersect as Richard and Jessica are walking to an important dinner at a restaurant. Richard notices that the woman is very injured and tries to help her, but Jessica gives him an ultimatum: ignore the girl and go to dinner, or the wedding is off. Richard, despite being a pushover, picks the girl up and walks off, and brings her to his apartment when she insists that she doesn't need a doctor. When the girl comes to, she's disoriented until she realizes that she's in something she calls London Above. As she's dressing her wounds, Krupp and Vandemar come around asking about her, but Richard can tell they're suspicious and tells them nothing. They still barge in and search the place, but the girl manages to hide from them. Afterwards, the girl says that her name is Dor, and not short for Doreen, and a rat shows up to pass her a message. The message is from the Marquis de Carabas, and as one last favor, Dor asks Richard to meet the Marquis and ask him to help in exchange for a big favor. Richard does so, and after the Marquis leaves something with a roof walker named Old Bailey, he goes to Richard's apartment, and he and Dor leave for something called the Floating Market. At first, that seems to be the end of it for Richard, but after he relaxes over the weekend, he heads into his job on Monday and discovers that nobody knows he works there, and they don't even notice him unless he bumps into them. The ATM refuses to give him cash, and even Jessica seems only vaguely aware that he exists. Then he heads home and discovers his landlord is about to let out his apartment. Richard doesn't understand what's going on, but he realizes that Dor must have something to do with it. He puts some clothes in a sports bag and heads out. The first person to actually see him is a homeless man. Richard asks him about Dor and the floating market, so the man brings him to a secret underground hole where the Lord Ratspeaker reigns. The Lord Ratspeaker puts a shiv to Richard's throat, but before we find out what happens next, we get an aside with Krupp and Vandemar. Their employer tells them that the other one won't work out, and so the two must now capture Dor and not kill her. Back with Richard, the rat from earlier steps in to vouch for him, despite Richard's disrespect to ratkind. So, the Ratspeakers take most of Richard's stuff, but they also send him off to the floating market with a girl named Anesthesia to guide him. We now see what Dor's been up to. She and the Marquis have returned to her home, a place which only her family should be able to reach because of their special ability to open any door. However, Krupp and Vandemar got in and killed her whole family, and this is her first time back since that happened. The two go to her father's study, and as the Marquis pockets a few things, she finds her father's journal and an entry that tells her to find the angel Islington if something happens to him. As for Richard, he and Anesthesia cross a strange underground bridge, Knight's Bridge, and while Anesthesia is taken by the nightmares that inhabit it, a woman with a strange accent and caramel skin keeps Richard safe. The floating market turns out to be at Harrod's, a famous London department store, although the market also changes locations every night. Richard is here to find Dor, and Dor is here to hire a bodyguard who could stand a chance against Krupp and Vandemar. Dor's family is famous, so all the toughs of London below line up and fight each other to prove their skill to her. The last man standing is Varney, whom Krupp and Vandemar have threatened into being their mole. But then the woman with caramel skin shows up and reveals that she is Hunter, the best fighter in possibly the whole world. Hunter bests Varney and takes the job. Meanwhile, Richard meets up with Dor, and she, mostly out of pity, lets him tag along. The party's next stop is Earl's Court, which turns out to be on a secret car on London's subway system. The Marquis has to leave because of bad blood between him and the Earl, but that's okay because he has business elsewhere. They learn from the Earl that there's an easy way and a hard way to reach the angel Islington, but the easy way can only be traversed once. This way is the Angelus, a fancy old door kept at the British Museum, and the Earl drops them off there. Hunter has to stay behind when Dor and Richard head up to London Above, but just after they surface, Krupp and Vandemar show up and taunt them about how there's a traitor in their midst. Strangely, they let the two get away, and so Richard and Dor enter the museum and crash a party being held by Jessica. Jessica gradually realizes that Richard exists, but he and Dor manage to enter the Angelus even with security coming after them. Richard and Dor meet with Islington, and the angel promises that he can explain who hired the two assassins that killed Dor's family and restore Richard's life in London above. All he needs is a special key being kept by the Black Friars. Meanwhile, the Marquis has stopped by Old Bailey for information, and then he goes directly to Krupp and Vandemar. The Marquis trades an old vase in exchange for 3 questions and an hour's head start. However, the 3 questions don't reveal much, and the 2 assassins violate the head start and kill him anyway. Richard and Dor return to London below, and Hunter takes them to a place controlled by the 7 Sisters so they can rest in peace. The 7 Sisters are normally dangerous, but Hunter is an old lover of one of them. They then go to the Black Friars, and because the Friars have 3 tests and the group has 3 people, Richard is forced to take the 3rd and deadliest test the Friars have. It's a room that makes you feel like worthless garbage, that makes Richard think that he's become a homeless bum, and he's hallucinated the past few days. Fortunately, he snaps out of it and retrieves the key. The group then heads to the new floating market location, so they can find someone to guide them to the hard way to Islington. Meanwhile, the sewer people have found and stripped the Marquis's body, and rats have informed Old Bailey of his death. But this is all according to the Marquis's backup plan. So Old Bailey buys his body from the sewer dwellers at the floating market and resurrects him using the thing in the box that the Marquis gave him. It works, and the Marquis comes back to life, but he doesn't get back to the market before Richard finds what is clearly some sort of vampire named Lamia and convinces the others to let her guide them to Islington via Down Street, which, in London below, goes straight down. Lamia separates Richard from the others during the descent, and then she starts stealing his heat. But luckily, the Marquis shows up just in time to make her stop. However, he doesn't show up in time to stop the betrayal. Hunter was also working with Krupp and Vandemar, and they bribed her with a special beast-killing spear. They still need Dor alive, though, so they take her and the Blackfriars' key deeper into the labyrinth beneath Down Street. It's at about this point that the Marquis explains that he died so that he could find out that Islington is the one behind everything. He's a fallen angel banished to London below by God because he let Atlantis die. But with the key and Dor's special ability, he'll be able to return to heaven. Richard and the Marquis enter the labyrinth, and they let Hunter come along because all she wants to do now is kill the Beast of London, an ancient and massive boar that wanders through the maze. The group encounters the beast and it mortally wounds Hunter, but she accepts her fate as justice for her betrayal. As such, she makes herself a distraction so that Richard can deal the final blow. And for this feat, Richard apparently gains the title of warrior. Still, Richard and the Marquis are no match for Krupp and Vandemar, and so they get knocked out and manacled to the wall when they reach Islington. Islington lets them live, but only so that he can torture them, to get Dor to open the way to heaven. Dor soon agrees, but when she opens the door, it's not heaven on the other side, it's the corona of a distant star. Islington and the 2 assassins get sucked through, and afterwards Dor explains that she made a copy of the key at the floating market, and just opened a door to the farthest location she could think of. Afterwards, the Blackfriars find Dor, Richard, and the Marquis, and they explain that the key isn't a key to heaven, it's a key to reality. Dor can use it to restore Richard's existence in London above, and he asks her to do so. There are a few bumps thanks to Richard's short disappearance, but everything smooths out quickly enough. Richard doesn't get back together with Jessica because he's changed since then, but he's got a good job, good friends, and some other potential girlfriends. But after a few weeks of that, Richard realizes that a normal life isn't good enough for him anymore. And so, he heads back down to London below. The analysis. Having read both this book and American Gods, I can't help but think of Neverwhere as a rough draft for the later novel. A protagonist discovers that there's a supernatural world that overlaps the world he thought he knew, he's coerced into participating in the supernatural world, and he eventually realizes that the people he trusted are the bad guys. On top of that, both books are a kind of meditation on a place that Neil Gaiman wasn't from but would eventually call home. Gaiman's current home is in western Wisconsin. I suppose it's entirely possible that I prefer American Gods because I am an American, but I think there's more to it than that. In my opinion at least, the new and old gods of America are a more interesting, diverse, and historically grounded bunch than the characters and groups that are puns on London neighborhoods and underground stations. Besides that, the plotline and the characters of American Gods aren't so starkly good and evil. Plus, it takes up more space and time, and it uses both to its advantage. Then there's the difference between protagonists, and of the two, I definitely favor American Gods. Richard seems to be cast in the Arthur Dent mold. Arthur spends most of the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy being very upset and not fully understanding what's going on. And for the first half of Neverwhere, that's exactly how Richard behaves. It honestly got aggravating after a while that he would say or do something stupid because he would refuse to believe his own eyes or listen to what other people told him. Richard eventually learns his lesson by the second half of the book, but that's almost a shame because being a fish out of water was also his most memorable character trait. Shadow, the protagonist of American Gods, is a much more interesting character, at least from what I remember. Admittedly, he is very stoic, but he's much more sure of himself than Richard is. He's much more willing to try something new and engage with the supernatural situations around him, even when he doesn't fully believe in them. Also, Shadow has a complicated relationship with his ex-wife. He very quietly reveals the dark truth to the people of Lakeside, and unlike Richard, he plays a central role in resolving the climax at the end of the book. Still, there are some things that Neverwhere does that have no comparison to American Gods. The original idea for the story was for it to be about feuding clans of homeless Londoners, but Gaiman made it more fantastical because he didn't want to romanticize living on the street. Even so, while the characters are a step removed from homeless vagrants and the plot has nothing to do with class warfare, a very clear theme of this novel is that homeless people are still people. Anastasia came from a broken home in London above before the rat speakers took her in. Dor dresses in layers of found clothing. Richard constantly gives money to beggars, which may have been why he was able to see Dor in the first place. Just about all the characters squat in abandoned alleys, sewers, or Victorian ruins. And during the Blackfriars trial, Richard has to confront a version of himself who is mentally ill, homeless, dirty, and a complete wreck. By contrast, the villains include a pair of well-dressed thugs who enjoy getting their hands dirty but don't live in the dirt, and an apparently angelic being who promises the nominally homeless protagonists everything, delivers nothing, and then later on it turns out that he was only pretending to care for the sake of his own selfish personal agenda. So while I'd say that American Gods is a better overall novel, Neverwhere offers a unique setting with its own particular themes, so it's worth reading for that reason, if nothing else. Thanks for joining me again for today's book review, and I hope I'll see you next time when I look at a book about monosex humans.